Good morning, I'm Radical Rick, and today on Extreme Science, I want to talk to you about how we were able to do the Diet Coke and Mentos experiment in the vacuum chamber last week. When I finished editing that video last week, it was almost 9 minutes long because there was so much that I wanted to share with you, not only the results, but the process we went through to accomplish it. Remember, science isn't just about the results of an experiment, it's also about the process of carrying out that experiment. So if you remember last week, we wanted to see what would happen if we did the classic Diet Coke and Mentos demonstration inside of a vacuum chamber that is 4 feet tall. There were a few challenges that we had to overcome in order to accomplish this. First, how can we drop the Mentos into the Diet Coke after the vacuum had been drawn? In a small vacuum chamber, we were able to glue a magnet onto the Mentos and place a magnet on the outside of the vacuum chamber in order to hold it in place until we were ready to drop it. Now in the 4 foot tall vacuum chamber, it would be more difficult to drop it in just the right spot to fall into the bottle of Diet Coke. Since my vacuum chamber has a robotic claw, I figured it would be easy enough to poke a hole through the Mentos and run a string through them, allowing me to dangle them just above the Diet Coke so we could open the claw and release them once the vacuum was drawn. Now this worked with only 1 or 2 Mentos, but once we added a significant amount of Mentos, we quickly learned that the reaction happened so quickly that all of the Mentos didn't have time to drop to the bottom before they were thrown back out due to the force of the eruption. We needed to figure out a way to drop them all together without having them attached to each other so that they would individually fall to the bottom and stay in the Diet Coke, similar to this device that I bought online years ago. Now this is really cool because it allows us to load up to 7 Mentos and it keeps them separate from the Diet Coke until we pull the plunger back, causing them all to drop at the same time. You may also notice that this lid has a smaller hole which keeps the Mentos from being spit back out. It also increases the pressure, causing the Diet Coke to spray out even farther. So the next question is, how could we control this from outside of the vacuum chamber once the vacuum is drawn? So I thought about the different ways we were able to make the zombie robots move using different gearing and electric motors. For example, this remote control truck uses a servo motor and gears to control the steering. So we made this out of some scrap materials that I had in my shop. When I purchased this device, it came with a package of Mentos that was in this plastic container. Since the threads on this were the same as the threads on the top of the pop bottle, I was able to use a tornado tube connector to connect the two together. Since I have a controller on the top of my vacuum chamber to control the robotic claw, I can use that same controller to power the servo motor to slide this plunger in and out. Now all we had to do was cut the end off to allow the Diet Coke to spray out once the Mentos are dropped in. Another problem that I knew we would encounter was that the Diet Coke would begin to bubble and foam as soon as we decrease the pressure, because if you remember, we can actually boil water at room temperature just by decreasing the pressure. Now the Diet Coke also has carbon dioxide gas in it, so it's going to bubble even more even before we drop the Mentos in. With that in mind, I drilled these holes to allow the Diet Coke a place to escape rather than engulfing and reacting to the Mentos before we even dropped them. Now this one was a lot of fun, but now I want to build a clear pressure chamber that is 4 feet tall so that we can actually increase the pressure and see what effect that may have on this demonstration. Again, I want to encourage all of you kids to experiment and to learn not only to love science, but the process of learning. Also, remember to save those broken toys so that you can tear them apart and learn how they work and figure out how you can use those parts to create something new. Don't go anywhere, we've got lots more to come on The Wake Up Show.